Back here on Sportsline and back to the phones we go. Say hello to Mike. Mike, thanks for waiting through the break. You're up on Titans Talk.
Thank you. As we all suffered through the defeat, we have to ask 2 or 3 questions, and I'd like to ask a couple of those. Number one, we know that our coach, Mike Vrabels, he knows what it is to fight in the trenches. He knows what it is to win in the trenches. He knows what a sacrifice is called on every play to control the trenches. When we watched that game yesterday, I didn't see the determination and the aggressiveness and the commitment to block for this outstanding number 22. He was merely, he was just picked off because he had no effective blocking in front of him. So if you recall a couple of weeks ago, you and I talked about the offensive line. If the weakness of the offensive line was ever demonstrated, we saw it. What will our coach, who knows what it takes to get that job done, what can he possibly do to overcome this? Thank you for your comments. Enjoy your show.
Mike, it's a great question because the offensive line was a huge concern coming into the season, and it was on full display last night. You have an undersized left guard in Aaron Brewer. You have a rookie right tackle in Nicholas Petit-Frere. And then last night, Taylor Lewan, the stalwart, the leader of your offensive line, along with Ben Jones at center, goes down on the very first play of the game. And so then you have a journeyman guy in Dennis Daly that comes in and plays left tackle. They struggled in pass protection. They struggled in run blocking. This was not winning in the trenches, as you mentioned. And I don't know what the answer is to that, because you can't have wholesale changes in personnel in week 3 of the season. This is kind of what the Titans have up front. And who knows, but it doesn't sound good with Taylor Lewan. So what we saw last night is likely going to be out there for at least the next several weeks. And they're going to have to survive with that. So to ask what they can do, it's got to be development, probably first and foremost. And I will say Mike Vrabel and his staff historically have been very good at that, at taking guys and taking teams, taking units, and making them better and better as the season goes along. So if you're a Titans fan, you got to bank on that they can simply develop these guys with more reps in practice in the game to be better. But there's going to have to be a lot of scheming here too. They're going to have to get creative in protecting certain guys. They're going to have to get creative in how they open up this run game and what they're going to do. It's going to be on the coaches in that regard too. So as much as it's a player's game, when the players aren't very good, and right now the offensive line for the Titans is not very good, it's going to go a lot on the coaches. And Mike Vrabel in trying to mask that and get around it and find a way, because it has been their identity. And I asked him today, frankly, flat out, Mike, can you play with the identity that you've had so much success here with and the one that you want to play with your current roster? And his answer was, we have to, and we will, because it is what we've had success with. So at least right now, they're not looking at any wholesale schematic changes, or they're not going to come out in the run and shoot next week. That's not what they're built for. But they got to find a way to develop these guys, and they got to find a way to scheme some things to their advantage. Because right now, it's hard to see that line going up against many teams and just flat out whipping them at the point of attack, which has been the trademark of the Titans offensive line for some time. And that's why it's such a big concern. Back to the phone. Say hello to Kevin. Kevin, welcome to Titans Talk.
Always good to talk to you, Steve. Well, first of all, I guess we can all admit that it was Christmas in September because the Titans gave a lot of gifts all night. So couldn't really get around that. Too much to talk about, but I'll narrow my opinions down. First of all, that lady on the field on defense, what was her name? Miss Dackles? she was there all night. And I just couldn't believe the poor tackling of this team. I mean, they're a very disciplined team. It's a Mike Vrabels coach team. And I just couldn't believe the missed tackles all night. And, I mean, Josh Allen's like he had knitting needles in the pocket. He could just knit one, purl two, and then, throw a 20-yard pass, which was just a little bit embarrassing, but he is who he is. So you got to give him that. That is a very confident, tough, well-oiled machine Buffalo has. Don't let anybody take that away from them. I certainly hope that they could do a little better with the officiating, because I don't understand how you call, a couple penalties here and there, especially that illegal contact for a tap on the shoulder. But then when I forget the receiver was who the pass went behind him and he took a big shot, and there's no flag there. Yeah. I thought the refs were inconsistent, but it wouldn't have changed a darn thing, to be honest with you. As usual, Taylor Lamont goes out early in the game. I don't understand why he keeps getting hurt all the time. I mean, it is a big boy sport, so, I mean, everybody knows, well, I couldn't do it, but it just seems that he's been having some trouble lately and over the past few seasons. And Ben Jones, he's a pretty reliable player, but that one little mistake, little penalty in the second quarter, I mean, that changed everything. And I just wish that the Titans can, come back, have a little bit more luck, especially with their running game. I mean, everybody knows where the ball is going to go when you're playing the Titans. But usually we have a pretty good scheme to block teams with, extra man up and, put in your blocking lanes. But obviously Buffalo, they've seen this story the last couple of years, and I think they got a good idea of what the heck the Titans were going to do, because they got plenty of film on them against them. And in closing, I just think that the Titans are better than they looked the past couple of weeks. I think they just got a little bit. I don't know if they're a cohesive team right now. I'd like to think they are. Only they would know that in the locker room, and I'm not going to judge that because that's not my place. But they're not out of anything. We're 0-2 right now, but everything can change in football, and hopefully a good game against the Raiders can lift up their spirits and get the fans back in the game, because I know they were probably disappointed last night. But I'm still on board. I'm a fan. I can't change that. And I hope you have a good rest of the evening, Steve.
Thanks. Always appreciate the calls. I think you had a lot of interesting points there. One of the frustrating things is the Titans have been able to run in the past when the other team knew it was coming. You don't get the feeling they can do that right now. If the other team loads the box and says we're going to stop the run, they're probably going to stop the run against this Titans team as it's constructed and performing right this second. And I think you just look at the offense and that cohesiveness you allude to. A lot of new pieces there. A lot of new pieces on the offense, and they're definitely going through the growing pains as they get used to each other. Go to line 3, say hello to Drew. Drew, welcome to Titans Talk.
Yeah, I just have a few comments. One, I think Taylor Lewan gets hurt too much for money chase, considering he's got a $10 million price tag. And let's see, 2, I think Caleb Farley was a mistake for a draft. Me personally, I think I would have went with a pass rusher or a run blocker. And lastly, I think maybe Derrick Henry has gotten a little too far along myself. I think I'd either get a better offensive line or look for a better running back. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that, Drew. I'm not going to put anything out on Derrick Henry at this point, because Derrick Henry, let's face it, is one of the best running backs in the league over lots of years. A 2-week sample is not enough to say that he's done or anything like that. Taylor Lewan is a big concern. And frankly, if that injury is season ending, he played his last game as a Titan last night. Whatever you want to think. The contract's done, and they won't bring him back given the injury history there. So there are a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks. Caleb Farley, the jury's out. He's had some inconsistencies for sure, but Caleb Farley can still be a good player. He's got to get the reps in, though. He's another guy that the Titans coaching staff will have to develop to figure things out. We do have a little time here. We're going to squeeze in Brian real quick. Brian, I got about 30 seconds for you, but you're on the air. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. You're on the air.
Yeah. Just want to say a couple things about my boys in blue, my men in blue. Derrick Henry, I know he's getting a slow start, but he's one of my favorite players of all time, and I have faith in him that he'll pick up. Wish we hadn't got rid of A.J. Brown, but it is what it is. He was a good receiver. Mike Vrabel, he's the best coach that I believe ever coached the Tennessee Titans. And Jeffrey Simmons, greatest player, defensive line player that I've ever seen besides Albert Hainsworth. And that's all. Thanks for letting me talk.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a big Titan fan. I love y'all. Y'all hang in there. Tell Mike Vrabel I love him, and keep on chugging because we're going to win.
All right. Well, we appreciate the optimism there, Brian. I think much needed after the disappointment last night. I will say the one thing in there. A.J. Brown, yes, it's over. You can't change it at this point. But, man, when you look at the impact he's had in Philadelphia and you see what the Titans offense looks like right now without him, it's hard not to go back to that April night and really second-guess that decision by John Robinson. John Robinson has had 6 straight winning teams in Tennessee. That's incredible success as a GM. But that type of move is potentially, it's early, but potentially franchise crippling. And you see the massive impact of AJ in Philadelphia and the impact without him here. Can the Titans overcome it in the long haul? We'll find out. We'll be back after this.